So recently I heard there was an Angry Video Game Nerd episode about a mobile game, and I was like, really? And my curiosity was piqued. This was the first time in a very long time that I was interested in watching an AVGN episode outside of rewatching the classic episodes. My expectations already weren't high because I heard the episode was awful, but the episode was so much worse than I was anticipating. He reviews this weird dating sim mobile game where an anime girl is dating a horse with an anime dude's face or some shit. Just bottom of the barrel junk you would download from the App Store for a quick chuckle for like 5 minutes and then never play again. And for almost the entire video, save for the intro and outro, it's just James pacing around his set, filming on his phone. And I was thinking throughout the entire time I was watching this shit, this has to be rock bottom, right? There's no way it can get worse than this. And before he somehow manages to release a review that's even worse and more low effort than this one. But anyways, in a vacuum, I don't really mind the idea of the nerd reviewing mobile games. For example, if this game was like a 2-minute segment in a broader video about a bunch of other shitty mobile games, then maybe it can work. And the central point of the video could be how you get all this low-effort predatory slop that plagues the App Store, whose only purpose is to siphon money out of the downloader and nothing more. And how this shit undermines video games as a medium because now you can't even escape microtransactions and paywalls in a lot of AAA games from mainstream studios. Many game studios these days are less interested in actually making a quality game, but rather a product they can monetize effectively. And the blueprint is taken straight from these App Store games that follow this exact principle, but we don't get that. Instead, we get 20 minutes of just, look at the horseman beating this guy up, isn't that so absurd? While we get blinded by James's fucking egg-shaped hairline. If bottom of the barrel shit like this is deemed okay to release, then I am fine with just letting the nerd die. It's been clear for a very long time now that James Rolfe is in fuck it mode, because for years at this point, the AVGN hasn't been a passion project of his, but rather a brand to uphold. And to an extent, it's understandable. Next month will mark 20 fucking years since the AVGN series began. How many web shows or channels that have been around for even just a fraction of that time have been able to maintain their quality for a long period of time? Or fuck, how many TV shows that have been around for a similar amount of time have been able to maintain their quality? SpongeBob saw a dip in quality over time. I don't watch The Simpsons, but I see people complain all the time that that show was like 25 years past its expiration date. James Rolfe is in his 40s now. He wasn't that far removed from his college years, I don't think, when the series began. And the reason I still love rewatching classic AVGN episodes, aside from them still being genuinely entertaining, of course, but also because the series was essentially a guy having fun with his friends, making silly videos, ripping on shitty games, rather than just a brand that he has to keep alive for the sake of a paycheck. Now, of course, I'm not naive. I know that when these videos initially took off and he figured he could monetize them, profit was part of the incentive to create more. Had the series never took off the way it did, there probably would have only been like a handful of videos from like 20 years ago that people have long forgotten about. But in those old episodes, you could tell that James actually cared about the videos he was creating, ranging from the energy he would put into the acting, to the effort he put into the video editing, because back then he largely did the video editing by himself. But if what James Rolfe deems as a passable AVGN episode these days is just fucking flailing around his garage while filming vertically on an iPhone while talking about some weird dating sim game about a horse, then I'm fine with the character retiring. Because what is the point in continuing to watch a series where it is so evident that the guy you watch these videos for doesn't give a fuck anymore? He's more than happy to release low-effort slop because he knows people will go flocking to it because it has AVGN slapped on the title. And I know the age-old saying, you don't owe your audience anything, he can make the kinds of videos he wishes to create, stop being so entitled. But that's the thing, is this the kind of content that James Rolfe wants to create? Does he still want to be pigeonholed to a character he began playing in his 20s at age 43? If he does still genuinely want to continue playing AVGN, then I don't think it's parasocial to expect better standards from his content when he has more than proven at this point that he is capable capable of making far better episodes than what he shat out last week. But if you don't want to continue, which is what I'm leaning to, then stop dragging the fucking corpse. I stopped watching years ago when it became evident that James Rolfe doesn't care about this series anymore. Because why should I continue to watch a series where it has gotten to the point where the main guy is just half-assing it because it is his main bread and butter, rather than making these videos because he genuinely wants to? If he doesn't care, I don't have to care either. There are plenty of other gaming channels on YouTube where you can actually tell they are genuinely passionate about the videos they create. And the AVGN is just a remnant of a bygone era here on YouTube. As much as I still really enjoy the classic episodes, I really don't care for the angry review style anymore. That's also why I don't watch a lot of the new episodes, and I think a lot of people are on the same boat. Saying fuck this game and proceeding to break the cartridge or pretending to shit on it isn't what a lot of people want to watch anymore. When it comes to videos discussing video games, a lot of people flock to stuff like video essays these days. Even if I don't care for a lot of the video essay genre, there is still a fair amount of video game essays I have enjoyed. And this isn't to say the AVGN is completely irrelevant. The episodes are still able to pull 1 million views. And of course, this doesn't diminish James's enormous impact when it comes to online content creation. Even if James Rolfe isn't one of your favorite content creators, there's a chance that your favorite content creators were inspired by James Rolfe, or they were inspired by other content creators that were inspired by James Rolfe, etc. But what I'm getting at here is the content creation scene is so different these days that I think both the audience and James Rolfe himself would benefit from a shakeup in the AVGN formula. This isn't to say I want to see AVGN video essays or anything of the sort, but the last AVGN episode I really enjoyed was his Earthbound review. One, Earthbound is one of my favorite games of all time, so watching a content creator I really enjoy discuss the game was an absolute joy for me. Two, it was a nice break from the usual style of AVGN videos. He wasn't talking about yet another shitty game that everyone universally agrees is horrible. He was talking about a beloved classic that many consider one of the greatest games of all time. He was discussing how the game holds up, what it gets right, what it gets wrong, how it has impacted the industry and those who have played it. I personally would love to see him do that more often, reviewing classic games with a critical eye. And maybe it would actually rejuvenate some interest for James Rolfe, because it wouldn't be the usual song and dance of AVGN ripping on a shitty game. Because what he's been doing has honestly run its course. Most people aren't interested anymore. James Rolfe himself very clearly isn't interested anymore. And I think YouTube is also partially to blame because the episodes are so neutered these days. They can't even play the original intro anymore because YouTube has this rule where you can't swear in your video for like the first 30 seconds or so. Otherwise your video will be demonetized and the algorithm will deprioritize your video. That's also why you see a plethora of sponsorships in AVGN videos now. The episodes are so corporatized now and completely lost the magic they once had. The initial appeal of the series was that it was made by an amateur filmmaker fucking around with some friends, making silly videos. And now that James sold Cinemassacre to a company, yeah, sure, the videos are higher budget these days, the quality is better, but the authenticity and charm is gone. The series is sanitized like a TV show would be. And I don't know about you, but I don't go to YouTube for TV-like content. If I wanted that kind of content, I would put on a streaming service. But Cinemassacre as a whole has become a soulless content mill adhering to what a corporation wants to see from them, rather than those who have been watching for years on end, or fuck, maybe even more than a decade. Anyway, this video ended up being longer than I thought it would be. I guess I just had a lot to say about the decline of AVGN and Cinemassacre as a whole. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye. Oh, and also, if the comment section under this video is disabled, that is not my doing. There's this really weird bug that a lot of creators, myself included, have been facing, where our comment sections keep getting disabled, no matter how many times we keep re-enabling them. Really fucking weird, and something that I hope YouTube fixes ASAP. Anyways, goodbye for real now.